Hawaii Blues fan. We're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
Presented by Scott Credit Union, your St. Louis
Hockey Fan Report. Yay! And welcome everyone. It is 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. It is 4 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And I am the one, the only, the always never imitated, always hated Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, and welcome to the show. Should be a good show. Can't wait to fucking wait. First day with the new tongue in the jaw. Can't wait till some of my co-hosts get here. We got some good stuff to talk about today. There was a post in a social media platform, believe it or not, by one of our friends and our and in a new group that's trying to support this show. Our St. Louis Blues by friend and pal Stephen Glass, and it really resonated with me. So I wanted to discuss and talk about that, and we'll do that here in a little bit. Joshua says never imitated, always loved. No, I'm often imitated and always hated. There we go. Ashley,
hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Apparently, I've got somebody that stole one of my pictures and made an Instagram account and is messaging people, but...
Oh, really?
I'm amused.
Yeah, there you go. You're someone's catfishing with you, huh?
Oh, apparently.
See, in my day, when we said we were going catfishing, we got a pole, some stink bait, maybe in them catfish lures. Today, you get out your phone, take a picture, and go to town. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. In fact, I think that's like of the sickest things that people can do to me. And I know I'm going to get, that's right up there with pedophiles, you know?
Yeah.
It is, because it really messes things up. Guy, you shook. You will be shocked at the picture I took this evening. I don't even know how to respond to that, my friend and pal and buddy.
Yeah.
I really don't. I had a Hawkland. Oh, that would have been cool now.
Yeah, that would be.
See, that would have been cool. My daughter hates hot dogs, my oldest. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons she hates hot dogs, we lived out in an area in Japan on the Kanto Plain called Ikego. And it was kind of like on a hill, mountainside, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of trees in that. And there were a lot of hawks. Well, they played soccer and they were having their, end of season, picnic or whatever. She had a hot dog and she held it up like this, and a hot dog came swooping in, and I mean a hawk came swooping in and just grabbed that hot dog right out of her hand. That girl has not had a hot dog since, right? Not had a hot dog since, right? She won't even do bratwurst, man. She's terrified of them. She always says it's because the way they made them. I say no, it's because of that hawk. She doesn't remember it, but I do. Even better than I had just fixed my bird feeder. Yeah, that's pretty cool, Josh. Ryan Green says, how about a bratwurst? They're like a hot dog, just more fancy. Oh, I love a bratwurst. You have lovely earrings and necklaces. Chris is in love with you. We know. And I'm joking.
He's my little brother.
Yes, I know. And I'm joking completely. So I don't know if Lance is going to show up. I sent him the link. I want to really get into this post that Stephen Glass put up in that our St. Louis Blues group, right? Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, it's got me thinking a lot, actually, and I think it would be a really good thing to discuss and to talk about. And let me go. Bushnevich is back, by the way. I forgot to put that in my little
but he
thing.
still might not be able to play on Sunday. He'll play
you mean
Friday. Friday he'll be able to play, but when we go to Canada, he won't be able to play.
Yeah.
He'll be a day short.
Oh, okay. So this is the post that Stephen Glass put up on our St. Louis Blues. I'm going to try and read it for you guys. Hopefully, it's big enough and you can see it or whatever on the screen. But it's this, and it just you got to hear it out, guys. Okay, just hear it out and make sure I'm not showing stuff I don't want to show. I've been thinking this whole goalie versus defense thing, being called a hater because you see Bennington's stats and those show his play has been subpar in comparison to the backup goalies. On average, the team gives up just as many shots when the backups play to when Bennington plays. So what's the deal here? Are we saying the defense is better in front of Huso? Are we saying the defense doesn't play well in front of Bennington? What I see right now is Huso is more positionally sound than Bennington. Man, does this sound so freaking familiar? I mean, when I read it, it sounded so familiar. I just was like grabbing things. I think that Bennington just overthinks things at times. I think we all know Benny can play better than this, despite always saying the defense needs to be better. So does Bennington. I believe Bennington needs to make some adjustments, especially on the glove side. I am not a goalie, so I don't know technically what he would need to do to fix that. But what I do know is that what I see is do know what I is what I see. Him getting beat high glove side. Those are some of the are great shots, but he sees it. But if he sees it, he should catch it. I am pulling for Bennington to play better. Yes, the dude brought us a cup. I respect him, but that's not right now. He is playing. I respect him for that, but right now he is not playing better than Huso. Not putting Bennington down, but we all must see that. And there's some really, I mean, it's great comments. Really great comments. Oh my goodness, now we're in for fun. Okay,
Yes.
Lance, did you get to see that, buddy? Can you hear us, Lance? Oh, Lance.
I got you. I had to change my inputs on my headphones.
Okay, Lance to Scott, calling Mr. Lance to Scott. Mr. Glass is in Australia to avoid law enforcement from the States yet. Well, that's why I'm in Hawaii. That post by Glass was really, really good. And it brings up to me, I mean, I put a post on my Facebook just a couple days ago from 4 years ago talking about Hutton and Allen. Here we are 4 years later with the exact same discussion, except now it's with Bennington and Huso. And it really brings me into, a very good conversation, right? Why do the backups right now have a better record than the starter? I can come up with a couple of different reasons, right? One was when a couple of the backups were playing, they were really the team had this response of we got these guys out, so we need to all step up. The Thunder Blues and things like that. That had a lot to do with it. Also, something else I see is the league is figuring Bennington out in his glove. Right?
Guy, do you remember me saying even during the Stanley Cup run that I saw a weakness in Bennington and it was his glove from the middle of his chest up, and people kept telling me I was crazy. I saw it within 2 games. I saw it after the Philly game, a little bit, very little, but the Blues were just all over Philly in that game. They were just all over him. They didn't get a ton of opportunities, and when they did, Bennington made the saves. Teams pick up on you, especially after 2 or 3 years. They know your tendencies. They know how you're going to position yourself on certain shots. They've studied him just by playing against him and also on film. These guys study these other goalies. Trust me.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. But see, now we have Galaxy Defender, or actually I should say Bennington Defender, Ashley with us today. And Ashley, I want to know what you see and what your feeling is on this, because honestly, to me, this is one of those 3-sided things, right?
Honestly, I don't have a problem with Steven's post. It's pretty accurate, actually. The difference is that he was still respectful in his observation. And when you were headhunting Bennington, you were just downright, Bennington is not that good. He's not elite. and I had to defend him because you were being too far. But Steven found the right. Yes, I think his positioning is off. Yes, I think he has a weakness on his glove side. And his confidence might be down because everybody keeps saying, oh, we should play, whichever backup goalie instead of him.
I'll tell you what, that is one thing, and I know Roland brought this up to me. He knows somebody that works, that is Bennington is a client of theirs, right? And it's been said, and I know it's hearsay, I get it, that Bennington's unhappy with the way the crowd is treating him. Well, you know what, dude? Don't be in sports then.
Hey, guy, I'm going to tell you something about Bennington. I know several people that know him, and him saying that just goes totally against his character. I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't. But this guy normally holds his opinions in until he feels it's necessary to say something. I had people say the same thing about Jake Allen. He gets upset, and he's very upset with the way the fans are treating him. He wasn't upset, angry in a way. He was disappointed. And maybe that's what Bennington's trying to say, because he knows that those fans pay money. He knows fans have a right to critique him. He knows all of that. Now, I can't see him letting that get to him. I just cannot see that with his personality.
Are you wearing a Hartford Whalers jersey?
I'm wearing a Mike Liute Hartford Whalers jersey.
Oh, my God. First of all, I got to call you a nerd for wearing that, and I got to call me one for even noticing that you were wearing it. I mean, I only seen the white and knew what that was.
Yep.
I'm a hockey nerd. Right? I'm a hockey nerd.
Yeah, it was between this one, Carey Price, or Grant Fuhr's 84, 85 or 83, 84 All-Star game Campbell Conference jersey. I almost wore that one instead, but I'll throw that one out next time.
Yeah, that's the Hartford Whalers actually were one of my. I mean, they were one of my favorite teams. Hartford. Now this is something we might talk about later, but why is the NHL not going back to Quebec? There was a meeting held up there last week, and they really got into it, right? They got into the league, basically blew them off.
That's it. That's it, because I know people that were involved in that push when they were applying for the league, just like the Knights did. And they told me that it didn't seem like the NHL even really wanted to consider them in the first place.
Because, why?
Well, guy, here's something. They can say there's no money. They can say there's no market in Quebec. And that last one is BS. I happen to know they had over, was it 50 or 75,000 fans who wanted, who was on the wait list. And these aren't just so-called accounts. They would have had that place sold out, just like the old place was sold out for years and years to come. They had a few corporate sponsors. They weren't the big wigs. Bettman, and I told people this when he first made commissioner, he does not want any more hockey teams in Canada regardless. His push is to get teams in warm weather. He wants it in San Antonio, Houston. This is why he's been pushing the Coyotes to stay there, and the league has done everything to try to accommodate him. The people in Quebec shouldn't be shocked by this.
Well, there's also another reason that people don't understand or look at. They don't want another team in the Eastern time zone. Half of the league right now is in the Eastern time zone. They don't want to put another team in the Eastern time zone. They want to spread it out. That don't
have anything to do with it. Time zone.
I bet you it's got a lot to do with it.
I know it's not. The time zone was never brought up in that meeting. I can tell you that much.
It might not have been brought up in that meeting, but they're not going to unbalance the league. They're not going to unbalance the league.
Guy, it's got nothing to do with balance when it comes to Bettman and his cronies. It's got to do with where they can get the most corporate sponsorship, who can give them the most.
Okay.
Wait a second. The Knights played, what was it, $600 million or something like that for the franchise, $650, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Seattle paid, I think, a little bit more than that or around there. Bettman has already said his next one, if there is an expansion, he's going to want between $900 million and $1 billion for an expansion team. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if he's going to stick to that, anywhere near that, that pushes out a ton of cities. That pushes out Houston. That pushes out San Antonio. That pushes out a lot of cities that aren't going to put almost $1 billion in an ownership group of a team. Bettman, from what I've been told from people in the office, he's all about this, and that's why he's still the guy running the league. He's still the commissioner. It's because he's made the owners a bunch of money. If he hadn't, he'd have been gone 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's all about this.
I get that, but there's also, I gotta stop just a little bit. There is a little bit of the way that, so you talk about money. How much money is there in Quebec versus how much money is there out west? And that's what I'm trying to get at. That's why they want to move these teams, keep these teams in these cities that haven't had it before. And not only that, but twice now the league has gone to a city 2 times.
Yeah, but Guy, the leagues went after the city or after a team with no hope of getting the team because of Bettman. Bettman did it as okay, if you want to vie for a team, go ahead. Here's what you got to give. And Quebec was able to come up with what they needed to be considered. Houston had that opportunity. San Antonio had that opportunity then. Not a single group from either one of those areas said something. And if he wants to say, go somewhere where there's actual money, you people say, well, Houston, is full of oil money. Well, so is Calgary. Calgary still, Calgary fills the seats all the time. I know people that were fans and season ticket holders of the Nordiques. They got the shaft. It wasn't because they didn't support their team. It was because of the owner wanting money, and that back then, the province nor the city would give him any money to build it. Right now, Guy, the arena's right there. The arena's built. It's it's being used for other things, but it's only a few years old. They've got a brand new arena. They wouldn't have to wait for one to get built. The team could come in as early as a year. And it's just, if they're using that excuse, and you may be right that I haven't heard that, but if they're using the excuse, yeah, the money's there, the fan support's there, but you know what? We don't want another team on the East Coast. Ashley, I want to get your take on this. Bettman's all about money and about, having it set up. But, if there's money there, if there's money, okay, they could have said, we don't want another team on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. Because you've already got San Jose, you've already got Seattle, you've already got LA, you've already got the Coyotes. If he wants to go to warm weather cities, his only options are San Antonio and Houston. And I could care less what people say. Well, Houston did well with a minor league team. That's totally different. That is totally different.
I'll agree with you.
It's totally different because the cost to go to a game is cheaper for minor league, and the fan base for minor leagues are totally different than the NHL fan base. Go ahead.
I agree with you, Lance. But I also think that it could have something to do with what Shockey posted about Canada and COVID right now. Why would they want to add another team to Canada when we don't even know if the teams are going to be able to play now?
Well, they wouldn't play now. They would play in a year or two, and hopefully in a year or two, COVID's gotten somewhat under control, and we don't have this stuff. Because if they plan on building Houston and San Antonio, we could use that same excuse. With the way COVID is rising with Omicron in this country, and regardless of your side on it, well, we don't want another expansion team because of COVID. They're not saying that about San Antonio and Houston.
Yeah, because the U.S. doesn't have the restrictions that Canada does about COVID right now.
Yeah, but
it's the Canadian dollar. It is the Canadian dollar.
It is the Canadian dollar, Guy. But if you've got somebody in Quebec willing to give $900 million, which is still over $800 million US for a team, an arena's already there. You've got a huge fan base. I don't know if you remember the old Toronto barn, the old arena in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Those were like the Packers. There's a waiting list for those tickets. People put them in their will. That's the way Toronto was. If you bring a city back to Quebec, it will be that way. If you want to grow the game and add more revenue, do you know what a Quebec Nordiques jersey? People would all want that new jersey, not just because like they did with the Knights, because it's novel, but because you've got an old fan base there in Quebec. And and Guy, they may be saying that they don't want another East Coast team, the Canadian dollar, this and this and that. But the league will find a way if it makes sense. They will. And I don't think they should have strung Quebec along. Bettman had no intention of bringing a team there.
That I'll agree with you completely.
Yeah,
They
I
should
agree.
not have strung Quebec along. I agree with that 100%. Josh, I do. I see what you're saying, but I don't want to get political, and that's pushing me to political right now, unfortunately. Bill Glass, welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. I don't think I've seen you before, but welcome. We appreciate you being here.
Did you want to get back to Bennington and talk about, stuff that a goalie needs to do?
Let's get back to Bennington. Someone asked about the man, and this stat just blew my mind. Do you know how many losses our backups have?
2?
3.
I thought it was 2 or 3.
3 losses.
That's not counting the overtime losses, which still count as a loss.
Yeah. Okay, so let me. So we have 3 regulation losses and 2 overtime losses. Our backups are 12-3-2. Bennington is 11-8-3.
I wanted to add something that he said that Steve put in his post there.
Yeah.
Well, they face the same amount of shots. Now, that doesn't matter. What type of shots are they facing? What type of quality shots are they facing? Who took those shots? What was going on in the game? Was there a guy in front of the net that screened Bennington when maybe Husso or Lindgren aren't getting screened as much? Are they blocking the puck more for those? There's a lot that goes into saying they face the same amount of shots.
Yeah,
to me, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I do. See, for me here, it's the truth lies somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere between his stats and what we see, right? We watched again when we watched Allen. We all saw this, Allen constantly getting hung out to dry. We all saw this. We all saw him let in beach balls. We all saw him, give up goal. The goal that Bennington gave up that went off the glass and shucked over. He didn't see and went in the net. Allen seemed to give those up all the time. I remember one goal Allen had. It hit the glass, and behind him came off the glass, hit him in the back, and went in the net.
Yeah, it rolled in.
Yeah, how do you get that?
I call that it just happens. That's happened to Carey Price. It's happened to Martin Brodeur. It's happened to every goalie at some level that's played the game.
Well, sorry, Josh. I don't mean to upset you. I really don't. I just know what you were trying. I don't want to get into mask mandates. I don't want to get into what government's doing this, what government's doing that, because it takes us down a road that I don't want to get. It's bad enough we're divided on Bennington and Husso.
Yeah.
I don't want to get that into it.
This is a hockey show. We may mention stuff that has to do with politics, but we're not going to get into the politics of it.
Yeah.
So
I apologize, Josh.
It's divisive. It's divisive, buddy. And we're not doing it because we don't like you. We're doing it because it's just divisive. And we could sit here and talk 3 hours about that, but we're just not going to.
Yeah, no. I just see, with me, where is the truth lie? Where is it? Where in the middle is it? How close is it to his record? How close is it to his
stat that
numbers?
we need to look at that would be very accurate in this is high danger shots. How many has Bennington faced, and how many have the backups faced?
Well,
I'm guaranteeing you that
I had more access to that.
Ashley, I like that stat in a way, and people have argued this with me, and I fully understand what you're saying. The thing I hate about analytics is this, and guys heard me. I think you have. High quality chances against him. High quality shots against him. Who's taking that shot? Is it a guy that scores 5 goals a year and doesn't have a good shot? Or is it Crosby? Or is it Ovechkin? That high quality chances to me means nothing, because an average player can get a high quality chance and not score or put a good goal on net, a good shot on net. That stat is
I see
useless.
where you're going, and I agree with you.
Because let me ask you this, Ashley, and you didn't play goal. Would you rather have Sidney Crosby alone 10 feet out from you on your glove side, or would you rather have Marco Scandella 10 feet out from you on your glove side?
Oh, Scandella every day.
Yeah, so it doesn't take into account that it is a picture of what it can be, but people rely on analytics way too much. They've got to look, they've got to watch him play. But getting back to you, that does have something to do with it. is high quality shots. And I would like to see, I should have looked into that beforehand because I was going to do some more research, but got stuck doing some other things just to see what that stat says about Lindgren, Huso, Hoffer, and Bennington.
Let's see. Go ahead, Ashley.
Go ahead, Ashley.
I was reading what Shockley said, but anyways, what I was getting at is, yes, I agree with you 100%. Analytics don't tell the whole story, but that's the analytic that would tell more of the story than what they're pulling up with just wins and losses.
Well, I'm going to tell you, just like any other goalie, you're going to have better results against average to good players shooting the puck against you. And when that guy, when it was a high quality shot, was there somebody screening Bennington? Was there somebody screening Huso? Were they not screening him? Did somebody try to? There's too many variables with a lot of these stats. And a goalie, I don't care who you play against, you play the same way.
Yeah.
You've got to be, if you're doing the butterfly, you don't want to sit back too far. You basically want to make yourself small. You want to have your pads out to the side. You got to be flush to the ice, not to allow pucks to go, through that 5-hole. And I've seen a few of those this year against Bennington. I think it was the first goal the other night against Toronto. When he slid across, his stick was not on the ice between his pads. It was up. And a lot of times too, I've noticed him when you're using the glove, you can't be sitting back too far. Number one, you've got to keep a direct posture. Number two, number three, your glove goes out in front. So instead of it being at your side, I don't know if anybody at your side, you got to have it like this in the front almost with your stick down. And a lot of times I watch Bennington and his gloves back a little far, or it's down just a little too low. And if it's down a little too low or a little far back, that's why he has some issues that I saw in his first year of that glove side, medium chest, right about to where the ribs start, up higher. Now, a lot of goalies have that problem because, it's up and down. And if a puck is at a certain angle, it's naturally, when you want to make a save or something, your natural instinct is to go down in your glove to go up just a little bit, because when you move, you're going to move your hand. And what I see with him is he sometimes gets that glove back a little too much, and you cannot have it back.
I agree with that assessment, and I feel like he's usually set a little too low, like you were saying. I usually kept it in front, so his positioning is a little weird for me, but it was working for him until the bubble.
Yeah, he's got to make adjustments, because one thing I have noticed with him, the butterfly's great. It's great when it works. There's times where a lot of these goalies in the league get so used to it, so used to going down and staying on their pads and sliding back and forth in the crease. That's great, and it works sometimes. But if you've got a high shot and you're down too far, because you can go down without touching the ice. If you know a shot's coming, you can get that angle and go down a little bit when you don't have to go down a lot, but you still got to keep that stick in between your pads to start. And one thing I've noticed about him is a lot of times he can go down too far, which makes that glove even more enticing to guys, because if he's down, he's not covering as much net with his body as opposed to coming up and staying up a little bit. But my opinion on Bennington is, and you guys know this, he's not as great as people said he was. And I said he wasn't going to be that sub 2.0 goals against guy, that he was more like a 2.5, 2.6 guy when he's playing right. And that's what he was up until recently when it ballooned, I think 3.05 goals against now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He's not that bad. He's not that bad. To me, he's somewhere about the 12th, 13th goalie in the league if you just look at him and how he plays, regardless
right
of
now,
stats.
his numbers are in the 20s.
His numbers are in the
20s
20s now, but, I don't look at that, especially after this many games.
Yeah, you got to go in and figure, because a lot of those numbers can be put in there. When Huso is in, I feel confident. Why? This is something that I think so many people – with one goalie, they use this, and with another, they don't. Why do you feel confident, Tammy? And I really want to know the answer to that. Nathan Moyers, I think this is the first time I've seen him before, or he might be somebody.
No. That's our buddy. He usually is
guy
under.
of OU. Yeah, okay.
And I'm going to tell you something. As a goalie, that's what I watch during the games when I go. I watch, the offense, But I watch the goalies as the teams bringing the pucks down and their positioning and how their approach to the angle is, where their glove is, where their stick is, the players around him. If the puck's going to get past and he's going to have to slide across the crease and make a glove save or an arm save or a pad save. And I'm going to tell you, Husso and Bennington, when they're on, they're both very technically sound. The same as Hoffer. I think, in fact, Hoffer, I think, is the most technically sound out of all three of them. People are going to argue with me, but I think he's got a huge upside. And that's why I think Husso's gone either before the year's out or they're not going to resign because they've got Hoffer in the wings, Ellis, and people like Lindgren. But I don't.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I've talked about.
Yeah,
that too.
I think Lindgren might stay with the team, but he's going to be a third, fourth guy. I just don't see them bringing him in because I've watched him with Montreal. I watched him when he played as a young guy, and he's good, but he's got some flaws in the way he plays the game. He's not as quick getting up from the butterfly. He's not as quick going post to post. And sometimes he comes out too far and sometimes he stays in too far. And that's number one, because he's not a true NHL type goalie that's, you can say he's a true number two or true number one. He's a guy that's on that fringe, a guy like Malcolm Subban. I'm not saying Lindgren's Malcolm Subban because I don't like Malcolm Subban. I think he's not a very good goalie. But, I think Husso and Bennington, when they're on, their mechanics are really, really, really about the same. I
want to bring this up.
Go ahead.
Sammy says, because we don't lose, check the stats. Well, see, that goes to the argument that we've been talking about, right? You go, he doesn't lose. Well, he does lose. He's lost games. The last game, he gave up 3 goals. Bennington gives up those 3 goals, and we win 5-3. Everyone is on. Well, Bennington gave up 3 goals again. Bennington gave up 3 goals again. Nobody is saying that about Husso. Nobody.
I want to hear. I want to hear. Man, he made some great saves to keep him in the game. He made the ones he's supposed to, and this game could have been 3-0 in the first period if not for Bennington, if not for Husso, so on and so forth. Because that's, I've told you this, and you start telling people this. It's great to have a 2.10, a 2.4, or whatever goals against, a save percentage of 918, 950. That's great. But when your team needs you, do you make the big saves? Because there's been several, even though Bennington hasn't been his best this year, there's been times where you and Ashley and I have talked, if not for Bennington in that first period, or if not for Bennington in that second period, the Blues wouldn't have been able to come back, or the Blues would have lost this game. And we said the same thing about Husso. So I think they're both playing well. It's just that right now, Bennington's in that situation where it seems like nothing's going right for him. But if you really look deep into it, it is going right for him. Some of that's puck luck, like Guy talks about. Others of it, that whole, well, they're facing the same amount of shots per game. I don't care about that. It's who they faced, how good they are when they faced him. Did he keep them in the game? Even if he's struggling to see the puck, because Guy, like I said, some nights you struggle to see the puck. Some for 3, 4, 5 games in a row, sometimes you struggle to see the puck.
And well, it's not just him. Lindgren, I know Lindgren hasn't lost, but he had a few goals that he gave up where he just didn't see the puck at all.
Yep.
And now none of us are professional, hockey analytics type people. None of us we're not GMs, we're not coaches, we're not scouts, we're not looking at it like that. That's not our job. That's not what we do.
Okay, can I tell you something?
It was our job.
Can I tell you something real quick, and I'll let you talk? Doug Armstrong looks at analytics very little. He does look into it before he makes a trade or a deal, but he is not one of these, guys that's analytics, and he's not one of those guys. He's just not.
Yeah, I would think so too. Chris Shockley says Bennington played almost the same the playoffs in 19, and he did say he made those saves no matter how many was scored in a win, and that's right. Now, see, here it is. In the regular season of 19, when he came in, played lights out. He played lights out, and then he got into that. He never really got into a grind of a season. He's never gotten into a grind of a season. This is his first. Be honest. This is his first full season. Mm-hmm. Right? This is something that you need to look at.
Yep.
This is his first full season. Mm-hmm. He came in 18-19. 1920 got stopped at the 3/4 pole, right? 20 or 21 was only a 56 game season, and now we get to this point. He has never had that full season, and I think it's finally wearing on him. And then I love everyone with this kind of, well, now that he got paid, he doesn't have to be as good. That's horse shit.
Nope.
I
All
like
right.
what Nathan has to say here. The best way to help Bennington is play consistently. Play in the offensive zone. A period below 10 shots on goal is a recipe for a struggling goaltender.
Agreed.
Hey, guy, I want to
Absolutely
give you
agree.
a stat, and I thought this was true. That was good. Good thought, Ashley. He's only played 50 games plus twice in his career, and that includes the minors. His only 50 plus games was in the year after the cup, and that was it. And I thought he played well that year. He was 30 and
He
13.
did, but he was also starting to show some signs. If you go back, because I noticed this just prior to us, just prior to 20 getting canceled, the Blues were you were starting to see some problems, right? They went 1-1-1. They basically they went the 1-1 lost 1-1 lost 1 after an 8-game winning streak. Right, so there was, or it was lost 1-1 lost 1-1 because they won the last game before it canceled. So there was some of that was starting to creep in, and Colorado was starting to play Colorado style, what Colorado is now. They were starting to play that then. A lot of people forget that because once the season stopped, no one really went back and analyzed that season because no one thought that the season was going to end. We all thought that the season was going to restart, and then here it just ended. Right, so that had a lot to do with it. The eye test is what I'm looking at. Don't look at goals against average. Don't look at wins. Don't look at losses. Don't look at any. Look at the eye test. When you watch the game, what do you see? What do you see when Bennington plays? What do you see when Husso plays? What do you see when Hofer played? What do you see when Lindgren plays? What do you see? How does the defense react when, not just the defense, how does the offense react? What is the style of play? Believe it or not, teams will play differently in front of different goalies. Different goalies need different things.
Yeah, and real quick, have you ever heard, and I've heard it several times, man, we were just so fortunate to have Bennington and, to have a great first period by Bennington. We didn't support him enough, and he made some great saves, and he helped us get the win. And, how many times do you hear them say that about a goalie? Often.
Even in games that we've let in like 3 or 4 goals, but still won, they say that.
Yeah, and you know what? To me, the team knows that when they go up. But I've also heard players go, well, it is nice to know that we've got him behind us. You shouldn't think that way.
No,
you should not ever think, okay, I'm doing great. I got to get the puck out in the end, but if I make a mistake, Bennington's back there. And I don't think very many guys think that consciously, but I think it does happen sometimes where you think Bennington's got us. And then when he starts letting him in, maybe it creeps into him a little bit. I'm not saying it does for sure because these are all professionals, but it can give you a false sense of security when your goalie bails you out time and time again.
I mean, yes, they are professionals, but you have to remember that they are still humans. Yeah. They have feelings.
This is probably, and I agree with this.
They're human.
Mike McKenna, who is a former goalie, and he's currently the goalie coach for the Hockey Warriors, said that there are times that the team takes Bennington for granted, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. And Shockey, this is something that's going to blow your freaking mind. I used to think that J-Bo had a lot to do with what had happened to this team in the back part of 20. After he went down, they reeled off 6 straight wins. They had an 8-game winning streak right after he went down. I'm sorry, as much as that may have affected him, it didn't affect him. It could have, it didn't. And go look at the numbers because it blew my mind away. It really did, because I was writing an article and I had to go back and rewrite the whole article because I was like, that goes right out the door. Oh, we appreciate that, Sammy. We really do. Thank you so much.
But I do want to add something. What I'm wondering is, why can't we just appreciate the fact that we have 2 solid goalies?
I don't know. Ashley, I have seen this happen when it was Mike Liut and Ed Stanowski, I think, and I may be a little bit off. But I've seen this throughout Blues history. It's been worse. It's been worse in the last 10, 15 years. People hated Halak. So what do? We go out and get the joke that's known as Ryan Miller and made a huge mistake. And I think the Blues would have been fine with Halak in the playoffs. He's been a solid goalie throughout his career. I think his goals against with the Blues was 2.5 something or 2.4 something, which is very good. But Armstrong didn't have confidence in him. So we get Ryan Miller. And what happens? Ryan Miller doesn't want to be here. He told people he never wanted to be here. And we get screwed in the first round. I think it was by Chicago.
And then Halak goes off, eventually to Boston and is part of the best tandem for a while.
Yeah, and he was good. He was good in New York too. He was good with the Islanders, and and then we have Elliott and Allen. Oh, we need Elliott in goal. No, we need Allen in goal. Man, I hate Elliott. I love Allen. Man, I hate Allen. I love this city for some reason. I love both of these. I love both these goalies.
Controversies.
I like Ellis in the minors. I like Hoffer in the minors. I think Lindgren has a purpose with the Blues. I love Jordan Binnington, and I love Husso. They're different goalies that have different strengths. They just are. And why can't we just get around that and go, Binnington had a bad game instead of, well, Binnington sucks. We need to bring in Lindgren. Lindgren's our next Binnington. Come on, guys.
There's too many people. There's too many fans out there that only see the surface.
There's too many fans out there that don't know the game too, and there's too many fans, and I love the new fans. I love the fans that came after the Cup. But guys, I'm sorry, if you're a fan that just started watching this team after the Cup, you're not going to know as much about hockey as a lot of other people that have watched it for a long time, like Guy and Ashley, or somebody who played it up to a high level where I was even offered a college scholarship to a D1 school. I mean, there's differences in people's knowledge. Guy brings something that he knows and he does. Ashley brings something that she knows and she does. And I bring something that I know. Not every fan knows the game. And I have no problem with people giving opinions, but please know what you're saying before you say it. If you're going to say Husso's better, and I think Husso's great, back it up. If you're going to say Bennington's great, back it up. If you're going to say both of them suck, back it up with not just, well, he sucks. That does nothing.
Or look at the record. Look at the record.
Yeah.
These three guys versus this one guy who plays more games.
Well, I had one guy told me, look at that subpar in 910 save percentage. The good goalies don't do that. So you know what I sent him? I sent him Mr. Hall of Famer, one of my top 3 goalies of all time, Martin Berdeur's save percentage. And a lot of times it was 906, 906, 910, 904, 902, 914, 96, 98. Now his goals against was always mid 2s to lower 2s, but that save percentage in me, I've always thought
that's because Martin Brodeur had the neutral zone trap, and
that's right,
and face 10. Martin Brodeur was, and I can't think of his name now. Who was the goalie for Detroit during Detroit's golden years?
Legacy?
Osgood?
No, before Osgood, right? Osgood would have a 2.5 goals against average, would have a 980 save percentage because he would only face 12 shots.
Yeah.
Right?
I watched a game the other day, about 20 minutes of it. And it was the end of the third period, the Devils Islanders game. Martin Brodeur faced 12 shots in the whole game.
Yeah, so the guy let in 2 goals. Great.
Yeah.
We won 3-0. Yeah, but his save percentage was 750 because he only faced 12 shots.
Yeah.
I
think we all ought to support our players.
This is something I hear a lot, but play the hot hand. No.
Share the load.
Yeah. We may need that Tim Chevalier. Yeah.
Well, you know what I would do? I would play Bennington. I would play Bennington every game except for when there's like 3 or 4 games in 1 week, or when he went to you or when you saw, okay, he's up in a mount, we need to rest him because he is going to need the rest for the playoffs. He's going to be our goalie in the playoffs, regardless. I mean, you guys can hate it, and I do agree somewhat of playing with a hot hand. If you've got Husso that, let's say, on a Sunday gives up 1 goal and the Blues win 4-1, 3-1, 2-1, whatever, and then you got a game coming up Tuesday that he's played against and done well against, I got no problem starting. But
I think right now they're in a rotation. They're in a one-on-one rotation. Basically,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Right? They're going 50% right now, and it may be smart because now see the schedule just got changed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now we have. We didn't have a lot of games in January, and they even took a couple of those January games and forced them into February.
Yeah. Ashley knows all about that Blackhawks game.
Yep, she's heartbroken. I know.
Ashley, I was going to go to that game because you said you were going, and Anna said she was going, so I was going to go ahead and go to that game. And now I don't. I mean, I could go. I might be able to get tickets, but I wanted to see everybody, and because I didn't know I was going to meet you the other night, but I wanted to see everybody and meet everybody. And then I see, wait, they rescheduled that game, and I'm going to be too close to my surgery. Then I can't take a chance of getting COVID. Then
I understand completely, man.
Yeah, I hope you have fun in that night if you go.
We're not gonna go.
No.
Anna was planning a trip at a certain time, and I'm getting a weekend job. So
okay. Well, I'm sorry, but that post there. Bennington, bring that post back up so everybody can see it.
Which one?
The Bennington one. Bennington's lost confidence.
This one?
Yeah, Bennington's in his own head and gets some. Sometimes you can get in your own head. You know, I wasn't the type of goalie to smile a lot, and I always kept a straight face and what you would call a game face. But sometimes you can get in your head, especially if you've had games that aren't up to your par. Even if you've won those games, it can start to get in your head, and you can't do that. You've got to go out there and play like you've won 20 in a row. You've got to go out there and act like your goals against is 1.5, and you're not going to let them get, two goals against you. Damn it. You're going to let in one goal, and it just comes naturally. It just depends. And it's possible for guys to get in their own head. It really is, especially with what he went through with Allen, the back and forth with that. Hey, he's been in the league several years now. The league knows him. So I think it's a combination of a couple things.
Yeah, it is. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
I think Ashley does too. The league knows him now. Is he a bad goalie? No. Is he the top 5? No. I say when he's on, he's number 8 to 12, somewhere in that range. When he's on. When he's on. Now that he's off, what is he? 22nd or 23rd?
Oh, he's further than that. He's like
because last time I checked, it was 22nd. I think he's probably up in the upper 20s by now. But hey, guys, have patience. Huso's going to have that time too. If we put Huso in for the rest of the year, which they're not going to do with a guy making $6.5 million, because if you want to get out of that contract, you got to play until he starts playing well to be able to get something for him. And plus, he's got a no trade clause. So if you want to play Huso for the rest of the year or play him for 10 games, I don't have a problem with it. But
Huso's not going to be here after the trade deadline anyways.
No, and I guarantee if you play Huso 10 games in a row, some of those games people be saying the exact same thing about him.
Oh, I know. And I mean, I need to bring something up here real quick. First of all, this is Nathan Moyers, and Nathan found our show about a month and a half ago, right? Does that sound about right, Ashley? Yeah. About a month and a half ago. And Nathan's been a very strong supporter of us right from when he found the show. And it really, I was excited. And about 3 weeks ago, I started talking about the game on Monday. How if anybody was going to the game, could you get me a banner? Because I know people leave them around in that. Nathan reached out first to me on Facebook and then connected to Ashley. So he did this right. He reached out to me, connected to me, made sure that I knew who he was, and then he reached out to Ashley. And then he, behind my back, which I love him for, he asked Ashley if she could go to the game on Monday and told her that he would send her 2 tickets as long as I got one of the banners. And dude, I don't even know how to say thank you for this, right? I really don't. I don't know how to say thank you on my behalf, on Ashley's behalf, on anybody's. Because that's just, people don't do that for me, right? No one goes out, very few people go out of their way or do something so nice like that. So man, I just want to say thank you. And it was, and I wish I could do something for you, man, when I get in, if I can get in town, soon or whatever, maybe something we can get together and I can get you dinner or something. But I just needed to say thank you because that was just, I don't even know how to say it. That was, just thank you.
It meant a lot.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. The one I got you then I'm going to keep. So I did get you that pin and I'll ship you that pin.
Yeah, no problem. I have a banner coming in. I also have Mike sending me one. So I have an extra one. So that's good. But, it just, the fact that someone would do that out of their goodness of their heart, here's 2 tickets to the game. Make sure that your partner gets one of the banners. You know, who did you take to the game, by the way?
My friend Sarah. I've been friends with her for 16 years. She was more into wrestling. That's how we met. We started going to like the local wrestling scene. And it was actually right around our 16th anniversary because it was her birthday when we first started hanging out. So it was just like, hey, let's celebrate our friend-iversary.
There you go. That's for you, Nathan. That's for you. What is it with me and people named Nathan, man?
I don't know. You attract a lot of people named Nathan.
Right, I'm getting a lot of Nathans. You know,
I think
I just wanted
to have that Nathan face. Like, give me more friends named Nathan, please.
Yeah, you know, I was going to, but my boy Curtis called it. No problem, Chris. No problem, man. No, I just, you know, what Nate did. You know, he didn't have to do that, and he gets upset, and you can read his lips. I'm not sure who he's just a Nathan kind of guy. Okay, that's good. That's good. Buff got Krug's pants from the Winter Classic, and it has a hole in the butt. Oh, my goodness. Why does that not surprise me? Why does that not surprise? Oh, Benny. Yeah, Benny, I expect a goalie to get upset. I absolutely expect him to get upset. You know who's the greatest goalie to get upset? Friend of the show, greatest goalie I ever saw get upset. Mike Liut. Oh my goodness, he would take it out on everything. Everything. He'd take it out on the left post. He'd take it out on the right post. He'd take it out on the crossbar. He'd take it out on the puck. I'd seen him take pucks and slam them into the, slam them into the boards, right? He'd throw his stick down, right? He would take it out on everything. And Cujo's another good one, right? Cujo's another good one too. Who's the best goalie the Blues ever? Who's the best goalie the Blues ever had when the Blues had them?
My opinion is Grant Fuhr, but that's just because that was my first goalie.
That's my opinion. I would say Cujo and Liut to me are the next two. I really liked Elliott. I liked Allen. I liked what's his face, the old Osgood when he finally came to the Blues and played. I liked Halak. I thought he was good. I liked Vincent Riendeau, but I don't think he was very he wasn't consistent enough. He had the really great games and had some bad games. I like Daryl May when he was a backup for the Blues in the 80s, but he didn't play many games either. The Blues
I also liked Jamie Mclennan.
Yeah, Jamie was one of those guys that if you needed him to come in, he could come in. He wasn't the guy that was going to play 25 games a year. He just wasn't.
No, but he could come in when you needed him and do well.
Yeah, he could come in if they were down and somebody pulled a goalie. He could come in and make sure no more goals get in, or at least he kept it close. He was a pretty good backup goalie for the Blues.
Yes.
For me, it's really hard. I think Liut is up there. Glenn Hall was at the end of his career, and he was still one of the best goalies in the world, right? But at the time, you got to think about this. When Glenn Hall played, right, there were only, and this is no joke, there were only 12 goalies in the league, right? And Glenn Hall played 500 straight games in goal, didn't miss a minute, no backup. When there were, his boy, man, I would have loved to be his backup, huh?
Yeah, and also
practice, sit in the bench.
Also, don't forget his backup too for a little bit here with St. Louis. Jacques Plante. Jacques Plante was a great goalie before he came to the Blues, and both those guys in their older age were still really, really good.
Oh yeah. I mean, at their advanced age, I mean, there was at the time 24 goalies in the league, and those two were some of the best. So, so you can't take him out. He is, he does look at, he's an original Blue, and that's, we don't have a lot of those guys left. And it's really nice that we do still have some of those guys around that are in their 70s and, 80s and that are still, partial to what this franchise is and what this franchise means and what it does. Game on Friday. Now, actually, as this show's ending, the next 2 days are going to be very, very important. The Avalanche are on the West Coast. They play the Ducks tonight and the Kings tomorrow. We need to be Ducks fans and Kings fans, right? Because I mean, if this team keeps winning, it's not going to matter what we do. We only got one more game against them.
Yep.
Right? It's not going to matter what we do. We play, we have a 9 p.m. game on Friday. Friday, late show. I love it, man. That's 4 o'clock 5 o'clock my time. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, but Ashley and I are ready to take the dog out. She's ready to put the kids down. If not about that time.
No. I love 9 o'clock games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I forgot your kids are younger, so you probably put them in bed like at 8.
Yeah, that's why we get the show on at 8.
Yeah. Right.
Chris Shockey says he'll be asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Shocky's just an old guy.
Yeah.
I've met the tall guy a few times. He's not. I don't want to say anything bad about him, but I don't want to say anything good either.
He's okay. I'm going to tell you something about him. People see him up there, waving the towel, and he's all into the game. Privately, he's very, I'm not going to say quiet, but he's not one of those people say, hey, buddy, how you doing? Thanks for coming to the game and supporting the Blues, and thanks for saying such good. He's not that type of a person.
No, he's not.
He does appreciate people, but I think sometimes people stop him too much, because I've seen him a couple times over at the Galleria. I'm not going to stop him because I've already met him once. I've already said hello to him. No need for me to stop him and say that again.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I do get that, and I understand that. But you know what? Here's the problem with that. He's decided to make himself a face.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
No. He did that. Nobody asked. Nobody said, hey, sir, would you like to start doing this at games? Would you like to count goals? He did that. He started that. He created that. Well, if you're going to create that, you need to live that. You need to have that, especially when you're wearing the clothes, right? You need to be in that persona. And I've met him wearing the clothes, and he's brushed me off or he's done other things. So it is somewhat personal too. But, you can't sit there and say that you're going to be, oh, I'm only going to do it. It's just it just gets on me a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's you're going to find guys at times that, like, there's a certain former Blues defenseman who wore number 5, and it's not Plager, and it's not Ramage, but there's a former Blues defenseman who people will tell me is super nice. It's super nice, very accommodating. I met him after the game by the elevator on the club level, and he was out with an injury. Oshie was out for an injury, and I can't remember the other young kid that was out with an injury. Oshie was very nice. You could tell he didn't want to talk a lot, but he was very cordial. And I just said 2 things to him. I tried to get Jackman involved in the conversation, and both questions I asked him, he turned away and wouldn't answer me. So that's my experience with him. Maybe he's a nice guy. Maybe like I'm going to tell a guy, maybe he's having an off night. I give him the benefit of the doubt. But when I met him, like you met the towel guy, Jackman wasn't really nice to me. But
okay,
oh well.
I met him and didn't know who he was. And I feel so bad because I know who Jackman is. I don't because
hey guy, I want you to meet I want you to meet this bald guy. And who is he? It's just a bald guy, nobody important.
Yeah, no, because this was in the Blues Lounge. This was in the alumni lounge.
Yeah,
and and I'm like, I just couldn't and I explained to him, I really did. I said, well, when you played, I was overseas. So I didn't get to see, I got to hear you play.
And another thing is, guy, he looks bigger on ice than he is in person.
He's pretty big in person.
He wasn't big when I saw him. He looked like he was 5'10", 5'11", and 190 pounds.
He's my height. He's 6'1", 6'2".
Well, Lance is a pretty big guy, tall-wise.
Guy, I'm 6'4" without skates on, and I tower over him by a good 4 to 5 inches.
Okay, well,
I could have put my chin on his head.
Oh, I'm 6'1", 6'2", I think.
Did he have skates?
I'm sorry, but 6 foot is still big.
Hey, guy, did he have skates on at the time?
No, he didn't.
No, I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you because on skates, I'm 6'6", about 6'6". So
yeah, so actually, I've got that one picture of me, and it's my Facebook profile now.
That's right. Yeah.
And this is an interesting for a Facebook profile. Give me a second. I'm trying to bring it up. and because it's kind of when you look at this, right? Now I'm 6'2".
I'm
right?
5'3 3/4", so Sam, you're
Yeah.
taller than me.
You look at this. This is me standing next to the Chuck boys, right? They're in skates and I'm not. They're not towering over me, right? So and then again, I'm not heavy set.
And I'm going to tell you something.
I'm broad chested enough. I mean, you look at me; these guys. I almost look like I could play against them.
Well, there's people that'll say Chris Pronger on skates, was 6'9", 6'10". No, he wasn't, because I've stood next to him. He bought a car from a dealership in Dave Croft that's no longer in business in Collinsville. Yeah. And I could tell you stories. He traded in a Blazer, and the Blazer had the nicest stereo system in the world. But what was funny was, guess what was all over the back and all over the back seat that you could tell they tried to clean up?
What? Beer? Yeah.
You could tell somebody drank a little too much in there, and he bought a Dodge Durango that he traded in on that with. And I stood next to him, and I stood next to him at Grant's thing when we were in the private room there with Grant, and he's 6'6" for sure. But I would say he's more like 6'7.5", 6'8" on skates. But man, it's just a big guy. And maybe I didn't judge Jackman right. Maybe I was standing up better than I usually am and was taller because I was standing up straight. I don't know.
Yeah, I have pictures next to
Nathan.
Is 6 foot tall. Well, I mean, Lance, I've stood next to you, and I don't think you tower over me. I'm right around 6'2".
I'm about 2 or 3 inches taller than you, from what I remember. Yeah.
Lance is a tall guy. Like I said, I'm 5'3 3/4". So
I'm sorry, Ashley, but the first thing I did when I saw you, I'm like, I thought she'd be shorter. I thought she'd be taller than that.
Yep. I was a short goalie. Like, you think of Darren Pang, and that was me whenever I was playing hockey.
I kept wondering, because when I met her, I gave her a fist bump, didn't shake her hand, and I gave Michael a fist bump. And she kept looking at me. I'm thinking, did I disappoint her? Do I not look the same as I did?
No, you're tall.
Because I'm thinking maybe she's looking at me going, oh my God, he's tall.
Yes, that's what I was doing. I was like, holy crap.
She met me and I started walking up and her eyes went.
No, yeah. So what I think's great. So Lance takes this selfie picture of him, Ashley, Mike Dante.
That was great.
And Amanda Dante. And Mike's not happy about this, but some random guy photobombed him. I didn't know it was a photobomb. I thought it was Lance's son.
No.
Right?
My kids are on my height or taller, so he's too short.
I'm thinking it's Lance's son, and then I find out about the photobomb. I'm like, oh man, that's just like.
But I mean, at least he joined it. He looks like he belonged. If we didn't tell you that the guy photobombed us, you wouldn't know it.
Do you know what bugs me now? I got to know who he is. That's the guy that you met.
Yeah, I know.
You guys got to put that picture.
It's not Randy though. Trust me.
Like that, right? And that wow, what a good hour, guys! What a good hour. First, let me say this before we go away, Lance. Welcome to the Blue Note Fan Report as a rotating permanent member.
Thanks for asking.
Greatly
me,
appreciate it. I know what you're going through, and I know that I know how therapeutic this can be, even when we're yelling at each other.
Yeah, it kind of gets some of your frustrations out without being hateful. So.
Yeah, no. So, and I get that, and I know that I could offer you that opportunity still, and that you would want that you had other podcasts you could have gone to. I know that, but to want to choose mine, I really appreciate that. And like I said, you've got a home here as long as you want it.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's always fun to be on, no matter who's on. And I like Ashley to be in the middle because sometimes she can be the referee, and she doesn't take either of our opinions personally. And when I can't make it, I really enjoy it when you and her go at it because it's really fun. So
yeah, well, we appreciate that. I mean, but see, that's what the thing about the show is. It's everybody has their way to do things, right? Has their way to see things or to hold things. Like the biggest issue, we talk about this with Blues fans all the time. Too many fans see the surface of the game, right? That's all they see. And when you only see the waves, and I'll tell you what, I did on Disney Plus. There is a series, This Is Earth, with Will Smith, and at one point he's with Albert Lynn, they're in the desert with a high-speed camera. They're sitting there, and Will Smith goes, nothing's happening, and Albert says, actually, a lot's happening. You just have to know where to look. And then he takes that camera that he's got down, this high-speed camera. You can see specks of dust going across. There's all this other. While it looks one way on the surface, it's not underneath. Right? And I'm flipping this, because the desert, obviously, on top, whatever. But to me, you cannot only look at the surface of a game. You have to look at what's happening underneath the game. I'll tell you what, I've called more goals from someone leaving the neutral zone than I have anywhere else. Right? Someone leaving their defensive zone, going through the neutral zone. I did this one time. I did this with my my nephew and my sister and brother-in-law, and this was in 2018. We were playing, I want to say, the Caps. It might have been the Caps. I think it was the Caps. Or no, it wasn't the Caps. I forget. No, it was the Sharks. It was the Sharks. I remember now. It was the Sharks. Early in the game, I watched a breakout, and before they even got to the red line, I said out loud, they're going to score. They come down and scored, and I had like 9 people turn around and just look at me. Like, how did you figure that out? How did you see that? Well, watch what was if you watch the game, what was happening in the game, right? I watched 10 foot ahead of the puck and 20 feet around the puck, if that makes sense. Right? There is so much the puck is so much a minor part of the game. Right? It's like everyone who complains about Scandella a lot of times, or complained about Falk, or complains about Parayko. You're looking at such a small fraction of what's going on. Yes, they make mistakes. I get it. Now, there's one that I looked at that way, Sanford. I could not look at Sanford any other way but under a microscope. Because he brought the microscope on himself.
Well, I've been very critical of Scandella. And he's graduated to, I hate him, to, he's just not my favorite player, because he's been playing very well since December, minus the game the other night against Pittsburgh. Really don't have a lot to complain about with him.
He had 1 or 2 hiccups against Nashville, but overall he was pretty good in that game.
Did you see Perron whack 90 behind the knee in the second? I didn't.
You talking about Johansson? Is that Johansson? Are you talking about O'Reilly?
Might have been, yeah. If it was Johansson, if 90 on them and not our
I mean,
90.
I saw Perron throwing his body around a bit in the second,
yeah,
but
was throwing his body around a lot.
I didn't really see the number of who he was hitting every time.
Right. Tomorrow night we will be on 8:00 Central Standard Time. We'll be talking what's going on in the league. We'll be talking about an Avalanche loss, because the Ducks are a damn good team, and the Kings are not a bad team either. They are finding their things. It was good. I did see that on TV where he did give him a good whack and kind of knocked him down a little bit. I did see that. Perron's got a bit of a streak to him. I know that, right?
Yeah, he's
that's
a little
right. Orlov
subtly
Caps.
feisty.
I didn't see why he got suspended, but he did get suspended for kneeing someone today, right? Yeah, for kneeing.
It was
so we'll
kind
of talk about some things
unnecessary.
Like that. Say again?
It was an unnecessary play. I agree with his suspension.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this year the Department of Player Safety has done a better job. Where the biggest problem I have with the NHL right now is how the F do you make Kadri an all-star? I'm sorry. That you are right there promoting all the crap that he does. He should have never been. If you've been suspended,
who does he play for?
Months,
Guy
you should not be able to be an all-star.
Guy, who does he play for?
Well, the Avalanche.
That says it all. If he played for the Blues, or if he played, the only other team I could see him getting in with would be Chicago. If he played for the Blackhawks, he'd probably be in the All-Star game.
Well, Kane didn't get it. Kane didn't even make it. Kane or Taze didn't make it.
I don't think either one of them has been good this year.
No.
You know what? We can talk about this tomorrow. it's time to trade them. I'm sorry. It's time for Chicago to trade them. You know, I get who they are and what they are, but it is time to trade them, right? Guys, we had 8 people stay with us through the whole hour. Thank you so much. Enjoyed it. Lance, thanks so much for joining the Blue Note Fan Report as a co-host. We greatly appreciate it. Ashley, you're doing a great job. And now, see, Ashley will probably not be on the shows on weekends. Right, so if we lose her on weekends, we have Lance on weekends, so it's not.
And
just
when
me by
Lance can't
myself.
be on Tuesday, I'll be here.
Right, I can do it. So I know Lance won't be on Tuesdays. So we got things, guys. We got things. We're getting you taken care of, you know. And this show is about you, for you, and by us. So this is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, for Ashley Slapshot Jones and Lance, the Drop Hockey to Scott, saying aloha, mahalo, and we'll see you all next time on the Hockey Fan Report.